Hi YouTube, it's Numistaka here, and it's a delightful cold morning here in London, but I gather that it's not as bad as some of you guys are having in Pennsylvania and other places in North America. So this morning, having spent 45 minutes boxing at the gym and doing some ab exercises, it's now time to talk about the subject of the day, which is trading and what's involved with trading coins and precious metals, and some ideas about how to get the most out of this fascinating activity that a number of us are engaged into. In some ways, trading is much more complicated than simply buying or selling for cash. And it seems to me that there's a lot more emotion in a trade than in a cash transaction, which is fairly easy and fairly straightforward and doesn't involve a lot of personal contact and communication. But trading has to be a win-win for both parties, clearly, or there is no trade possible. However, what defines a win seems to be highly subjective, and often one man's win needs to be the other man's lose. So let's look at some of the reasons why we trade, because it's a pursuit and a pastime that lots of us are involved in the precious metals and stacking world as we change and upgrade our collections and stacks. So why do we trade? So one of the key things is to save dealing fees. Trading can be a very rewarding, low-cost way of dealing for both parties. And with dealing fees on eBay going at pretty much 14% at the moment, including final value fees and PayPal fees for a lot of coins, there's a big incentive to deal outside of that market and save on dealing costs as much as possible, and trading is very good for that. Some of us trade because it's kind of a righteous and feel-good thing to do. It's a little bit old-fashioned and it's more gentlemanly. And there's a lot of people who get involved in it really because not so much to win the deal and win the bargain, but because they enjoy the process of trading and they like the personal contact. Other people do it to fill their gaps in a collection, where they want to find things that are quite difficult to find. Sometimes the people who have those things only want to trade and are not interested in doing a direct sale, so they have to find something to trade. So other people, may not have something like that they want to deal with. They just want to refresh a collection with new items or find a home for their duplicates. So what forms does this trading take? Well, the reason that trading can be difficult is that so few trades are like for like. It's like saying, well, everything is different, and coins are very difficult because they have different sizes, different shapes, different materials, different grading. They can be raw, they can be slabbed, they can have different grades, and it's quite difficult sometimes to come to an agreement about what constitutes an equal trade or a bargain. It can be one large items for many small. It can be graded for raw, raw for graded, silver for gold, gold for silver, and it goes on and on and on. And one of the things that's at the bottom of this is this question of valuation. Valuation is probably the most contentious element, as both traders want a good deal, and the trade only works if both win. So trades are really only partially linked to actual valuations and do involve other factors as well. And so where do you start? In this amazing era of the internet and pretty much perfect information and perfect competition, eBay is a brilliant starting point because you have a store of information and data about historical sales. So I look at eBay for most values. eBay has the greatest volume going through it of pretty much any coin trading arena, and historical pricing is very easy to find using the advanced search on eBay and specifying values for sold items. If there are both buy it now transactions and auction sales, then I tend to take the average of the last 5 sales as setting a kind of definition of what the market price is for that item. How much is the trade you're being offered worth? Well, to find that, I do exactly the same thing. Look up each item that somebody's offering you and place a value on that item with reference to sold pricing. So if they balance, then obviously go ahead and do the trade if you want those items. If they don't balance, you then have further complications. Well, how about if your item is worth more than the other guys or less than the other guys? If it's worth more than the other guys, then ask for some kind of sweetener to do the deal, maybe some cash to balance it up, or a smaller item to trade with it, or maybe an extra coin or two to make the trade even, and do that and go through those kind of iterations until it actually works. It gets a little bit more complicated if there are no sales comparables. In this case, you need to look for items for sale that express a value. So look at auction bids and then buy it now. Auction bids tell you a little bit more about value than buy it now because they're real people saying that they will bid that particular amount. However, auction bids are not a good indication if you take them too early, because 20% or so of the auction value is something that goes on in the last minute of trading. So it doesn't really tell you anything very much, and you may have to then look at the buy it nows as well. But at the same time, you need to remember that buy it now values can be up between 5 and 20% greater than auction buys, because you then have the convenience of being an immediate winner, and that's only right that buy it now should generally be slightly more expensive. If there are no eBay comparables at all, you then need to use auction results at places like Great Collections or Heritage or other online auctions. And then, if that doesn't yield anything, maybe look at some of the main dealers' sites like JM Bullion, APMEX, etc. Or for things which are specialists like Libertads, then the asking prices for Mexican Coinbroker can be a really good indication, because generally they would sell everything that they can sell at those asking prices pretty quickly, and those are normally pretty fair prices. So if the trading items are, say, bullion only, and they may be hardcore bullion, no numismatic value, then at least in the UK, and there may be other sources in the States, I found things like Hatton Garden Metals to be very useful, because for every different bullion item, it shows their buy price and their sell price. And though buy prices at dealers are not a great kind of comparison for trading valuations, then they do show a solid expression of what the bottom values are for a particular coin. So that deals with valuation to a large extent, but then there's the etiquette of, well, who sends first? Who trusts who? And generally, it's the person that is suggesting the trade who wants something, who would normally send their items first, and then the other person would then send their items afterwards. But it's a very good idea with these things to use tracking. And what I normally do is, as soon as I've received a tracking and it started a track in the post office, then I would normally send my items out showing trust to that person. But you need to make sure that you really do trust and know the history of the person you're trading with, and that they've established some kind of reference or credibility. Otherwise, it's probably a good idea to wait till you've actually received the item and then you send your item out. Most trades go pretty well in my experience. There can be delays in the postal service, and you have to then fight with other things like, well, what happens if one package doesn't arrive? What happens if the item isn't in as good condition as stated, or it's misdescribed? So you have to deal with those things on a one-off basis, one by one. Trading is a fun thing to do. I enjoy it. It can be rewarding sometimes, and it can extend your collection. Just so you guys know, I am open to trades on anything I show on my channel. but they do need to be sensible and fair and high quality. But of course, watch out, because I'm not that easy to trade with, because I also want to win and get things that have a potentially higher value, and that means that you have to be sure the stuff you're trading with me has a higher value to you in the future as well. So let me know what you guys think about trades and trading, and what your experiences are, things that have gone wrong, things that have gone right, and what you think of trading as an option for acquisition. Thanks very much, guys, and please subscribe and like as much as you possibly can.